The 2025 NBA draft is complete, and with that, here are my grades for every single pick. I think too many times people follow the lead of others and don't analyze for themselves with their own conviction. GMs get picks wrong, and I believe it's more than okay to disagree with selections. Look at past drafts. You got Scoot Henderson picked over Amen Thompson, Johnny Davis over Jalen Williams, Josh Primo over Alper and Sengun, Killian Hayes over Tyrese Halliburton. So as an example, 5 of the top 10 picks in this video are rated below a C-. Unless you're a player, don't take it personal. Continue along for authentic analysis. Cooper Flagg, A+. So before I get into talking about Flagg, also want to discuss Ryan Nembhard, and he is such a good pickup, and I don't know how he wasn't drafted in the second round. You've got so many lob threats on this team, but you had no one as a point guard who could play make, facilitate, pass them the ball, and Ryan Nembhard fits that to a T. But for this pick, Cooper Flagg, they did not have someone on the wing, kind of like if you imagine KD on the Mavericks. They didn't have someone on the wing who could just go get you a bucket. And Cooper Flagg does that to an extremely high level. And then defensively, he might be the best defensive player in this class. He's almost like Kevin Garnett with his instincts. I mean, this is just an incredible pick. It's a great fit. And the Mavericks, they hit home here. Dylan Harper, A+. So the trend continues with the A+. We go 2 in a row. And obviously the fit's weird here, but who cares? You just take the best player available. Dylan Harper, I mean, he's so incredible at splitting double teams. He's so incredible on the pick and roll in general, at attacking the basket. I love the story he shared where he was like, I attacked the basket. That's all I did growing up because my mom wouldn't let me shoot the three at all until a certain point. And it's like, well, yeah, we can tell why he's so good at what he does. The thing with Dylan Harper that you love with the Spurs is he can go out and he can get a bucket whenever he wants, and he's going to be so deadly paired with Wembanyama. He's also a good defender as well. So Dylan Harper, it's the best possible player you could pick at this moment. Again, the fit's weird alongside Castle and Fox. I don't love Castle at this point, but Harper, Fox, and Wemby, that's a pretty good combination. Knueppel, Charlotte Hornets, C. So Knueppel earns a C because he has an incredibly high floor, and the Hornets, after taking Tijan Salon last year, they needed a safe bet, so that's why they went Knueppel. And Knueppel, he's got decent size, he's an incredible shooter, he's an incredible free throw shooter, he's a great off the ball, he's incredible off the ball, his instincts are huge, so there's so much to love about his game, and so that warrants a top 4 pick. My problem with the pick and why it's only a C is because if you're going for a player like him, why not just take someone like Cedric Coward? Cedric Coward has more size, he's got a bigger wingspan, he's still an incredible shooter, and he can create for himself as well in the same way, if not better, as Knueppel. Knueppel, his athleticism is good. I think everything he does on offense to me is such a pro. The problem is defensively, is he going to stick? Is he consistent enough as a defender to stick? Cooper Flagg was such a good defender at Duke. When he was on the court, he brought up and rose up everyone else on that Duke team to play incredible defense. So what's Knueppel going to do by himself out there? What's he going to do when he gets hunted in the pick and roll? Is he going to be able to maintain solid defense and the sparks that he showed in college? That's my question mark, and that's why it's a C. Collin, Murray-Boyles, and Cedric Coward I would have preferred, but I still like the Knueppel pick. Ace Bailey, Utah Jazz, D-. I was leaning between either giving this a D- or an F. I do not love Ace Bailey at all. I think the shot IQ is horrific. I think when you watch the highlight tape, you go, oh my God, this guy should be pick number 1. But when you watch full games, he's not impacting the game and he's not impacting winning. Obviously, we know that because he could not help Rutgers win. So my question is, if you can't help a team in college, I get there's potential or this perceived belief of potential, but I can't see it at all. The shot IQ is terrible. He was a liability on defense. I think other people around the country can hit shots like Ace Bailey can hit, but they're sensible enough to not take them. The other thing is that his circle is terrible, and I think you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around, and Ace Bailey does not spend his time around good people. You gotta be careful who you let into your circle, and it's such a good life lesson for everyone because you're the sum of those who you surround yourself with. Ace Bailey to me is not gonna work out in the NBA, and he's got bust written all over it. Trey Johnson, Washington Wizards, D. The reason this is a D and not lower than that is because I think Trey Johnson can probably become a good scorer in the league. The problem is I don't know what he does much else aside of that. I think the defense is such a huge concern, and the frame isn't great defensively to where I'm not sure he'll ever be that good of a defender in the league. I love his character. That is such a positive. He's got great character. But I think there were better players at this pick, and he's such a weird fit on the Wizards, who, as a team, I like a lot of these players individually, but I just don't see them all working together, and I just cannot understand the direction of that franchise. I hate volume scorers. I hate volume scorers that can't impact the game in other ways. He's okay at playmaking, but he's not going to be an elite playmaker. So all he is a scorer. And we saw the same thing with someone like Jalen Green, where it's just he's not impacting winning as much as other players who are taken after him. Jeremiah Fears, New Orleans Pelicans, F. Again, I hate volume scorers. I hate volume scorers that can't do much outside of scoring. Yeah, he can score fine. He's one of the best prospects in this class at attacking the basket, drawing fouls, and finishing under that contact. But his shot selection was abysmal. The defense was not great at all. I would even argue it was abysmal. He's not great at keeping care of the basketball. He's never going to be an elite playmaker. He had such bad turnover problems. His three-point shooting was pretty poor at 28%. He didn't have a good effective field goal percentage either. I mean, there's so many flaws written over this pick to the point where the really only thing you like about him is the fact he's so young. It's so hard to see it. And on top of that, there are so many better options. He doesn't fit with the Pelicans team. Last time they took a speedy player, it was Kyra Lewis, and I think history just repeated itself. I think this is a horrible pick. Egor Demin, Brooklyn Nets, F. The college tape was really poor. The idea of Egor Demin is better than the actual player he is. I think people want him to be like a Josh Giddey or something, but I just can't see it at all. Yeah, he's okay at reading defense. He's decent at facilitating. He can hit the cutters. He can hit the open shooters. But when you look at the tape, there's so much to dislike. He was not able to shoot in college, and that alone plays him off the court. But on top of that, he lacks elite bursts. He can't beat defenders off the dribble. He's terrible under any sort of pressure. He's turnover prone at a 22% turnover rate. I mean, come on now. It caps his ability to actually collapse a defense. He's an overrated playmaker, which is supposed to be one of his top attributes. One coach put it as he's light in the ass, but I could not agree more. He gets bullied. Demin is good at absorbing contact, not good, and he's a liability against next-level physicality. As on defensive end, he was terrible. He doesn't stick out at all. His effort, his strength is mediocre. He's not a lockdown point of attack defender, and he has to be because he gets overpowered by stronger wings. Demin is a guy that's going to get absolutely hunted in the league. The idea is better than the actual player. What are we doing? Collin Murray-Boyles, Toronto Raptors, A+. I love this pick. Collin Murray-Boyles is just a winning player. He does all the little things on court that you absolutely love. The main thing here is that South Carolina was not a top 200 team on KenPom rankings 3 seasons ago. Collin Murray-Boyles came in, and in his freshman and sophomore year, they were 54th and 69th respectively on KenPom. He changed that team. They had the same coach as well. He changed that team for the better. The defense is so good. They were so much better of a team when he was on the court defensively. His communication is great, and he does all the little things that you love. He's such a good intangible player. He's a great rebounder. He's going to change this Raptors team. I know there are questions. They wanted a center, but you got to take the best player on the board if he's there, and Murray-Boyles was the best player on the board. The last 4 picks before this one, I hated. I thought they were terrible. Because you have Murray-Boyles, and you also had Cedric Howard on the board as well. These were the 2 best players to take, and the Raptors got a good one. Khaman Maluach, Phoenix Suns, D+. I don't love the pick. I understand the pick because they wanted a lob threat. They got a lob threat in Khaman Maluach. I like the kid. I love the character. But the main concerns here is the lateral agility on defense. I think he's going to struggle to not get blown by, and I doubt his ability to ever be a strong interior anchor in the league. Then offensively, I don't think he has great feel for the game. I don't think he's got great hands to the point where you throw it to him and you might have a little bit of turnover problems there. I understand the pick with Maluach. I understand you're going off the frame, you're going off the build, but I thought he never really changed this Duke team for the better, to the point where in the NBA, is he ever going to change a team for the better? You had Cooper Flagg on that team bring everyone up. And again, Maluach, he was not able to do the same. He wasn't able to lift the team up. Cedric Coward, Memphis Grizzlies, A+. The Grizzlies are one of the smartest organizations in the NBA, and to go in at pick 11, to trade in for him and get your guy is huge. The concerns that I've heard for Coward have been that he didn't play a lot of games, he didn't play against great competition, and then there was some concerns on shot creation. But I think, who cares about all that? Because the tape is tremendous, and at the next level, he's going to thrive. He is so efficient. When he gets the opportunity, he will knock down shots. He's really good at driving to the basket, drawing contact. He hits his free throws. He's a good playmaker. I would even argue he's a great playmaker for the size, for the position he plays. He's so efficient. He had a 99.8 combine score. He's a good rebounder. On the defensive end, that huge wingspan is going to make him such a plus defensively. There's absolutely no concerns for me here. He was my number 4 player in the class, and this is a huge win. Noah Essengue, Chicago Bulls, B. The reason this earns a B and not, lower than that is because I love the fit here in a transition team that plays with a lot of pace. I think he runs the floor really, really well, and he'll be really good in transition. Noah Essengue to me is a pick where he's either out of the league within 3-4 years, or he's really, really effective on the court, and you just always have to have him on the court. The physicality, he's got a small chest, and he's got to add weight, he's got to add physicalness, he's got to add strength in order to handle those bigger players in the NBA. I think he showed versatility defensively, where he was able to guard everyone on the court, and that helps tremendously. Obviously, there's question marks as well on the three-point shooting, so he's going to have to improve shooting-wise to stick, and the shot selection also wasn't great at that level, but again, in transition, as a guy who's going to run the floor, play with a high motor, you really like the pick, you really like the potential and the top-end talent here that he might display. Derik Queen, New Orleans Pelicans, F. Part of this grade doesn't take into account the trade was horrible, but either way, I just don't love Derik Queen at all. I didn't like the Fears pick either. 2 F grades for me on both of those picks. The GM after the draft said that, he was like, Derik Queen has some of the highest IQ out of all the players in this class, but I just don't think the IQ is there like other players. You got Flagg, Harper, Edgecombe, Coward, Murray-Boyles, Knueppel, Clayton, Nique, Clifford, Jase, Richardson. You could go on that have higher IQs on the basketball court than Derik Queen. The efficiency wasn't great. He had turnover problems with the ball. You think this is a guy that can... You're taking him because he can dribble up the court, and you're supposed to be good as a playmaking big, but I just don't see it at all. I think he just lacked efficiency. He wasn't great defensively. There's just nothing that really sticks out to me about Derik Queen, and he's definitely not the American Jokic or whatever you want to call him. This is a bust written all over it. Carter Bryant, San Antonio Spurs, A+. I love this pick for San Antonio. He is a fantastic fit. Spurs fans have been crying for this 3-and-D wing, and Carter Bryant is exactly that. I think you can rock with the lineup of De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, Carter Bryant, and Wembanyama all on the court together, and Carter Bryant fits that really well. He was the best defensive player on his team, and they didn't realize that till later in the season when they started playing him more and being like, oh yeah, he's actually good. The offensive game can also grow. He didn't get a lot of shots up in college. I think he took about 6 shots a game only. And again, that's because he was playing that bench role. So we haven't seen enough offensively, but that's fine because you've got Wembanyama, because you've got Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox. You can play off the ball to start your NBA career and grow from there. They absolutely nailed this draft, the San Antonio Spurs. This could not have been a better fit. Carter Bryant, he's got such physical tools. He's a really good rebounder. He just does everything. And to me, I just love this pick. I'm in love with it. I'm in love with Carter Bryant on the Spurs. Thomas Sorber, Oklahoma City Thunder, A+. I absolutely love this pick. It's another Presty guy who's got a huge, massive wingspan. He's got a good standing reach as well. This is a guy who was a tremendous defender in college, and he was one of the only positive points on that Georgetown team. Thomas Sorber is so good defensively, but the question mark for him was, can he ever anchor a defense? And to me, I doubt he ever becomes a defensive anchor, but you've already got Chet Holmgren to the point where Sorber can be that second big, and they can play two big lineups really well. You're looking at the defense and you're saying, we want Thomas Sorber. He can shoot the three ball okay. The three-point percentage was pretty abysmal in college, but I think there's room to grow because the free throw percentage was above 70%. He's really good at getting hands on the ball, really good at generating turnovers, getting those steals, and I think that Sorber was really good. He can grow offensively. That game can improve, but there wasn't much facilitating. There wasn't much going on Georgetown for him to really operate as such a huge influence in that area. He's never going to be a shot creator himself necessarily, but he can play a role, and for that, the Thunder nailed this pick, and they're just getting better as current champions. Come on now. Portland Trail Blazers, young Hansen, F. I think there were much better players at this spot. I know Kalkbrenner went super late, but if you wanted a center, you could have just gone him, but it's also not what the Trailblazers need at all. I think this was just a massive, we know it's a massive reach. I can respect the idea of what you want him to be, but if you're coming over from China, you have to absolutely dominate that league, and the tape was never dominant. Yeah, he's a really, really good playmaker. Some of his passes, you're like, how is a guy at that size making that type of pass? But I'm just not sure if he's ever going to see the court at all. I mean, defensively, he's not great. He's going to get run by. And how much shot creation does he really have? How good is he of a rebounder? Like, yeah, the size is great, but outside of that, I just don't know if he's really ever going to impact the NBA game at all, and I really doubt it. That's why it's earned the F grade. Obviously can prove me wrong, and I think this maybe has a chance of being proved wrong, but you could have gone Fleming, you could have gone Nique, Clifford, Jase Richardson, Aduthiero, you could have gone Walt or Clayton. There are so many different directions you could have gone that could have helped the Trailblazers win now. I love what the franchise is doing. I just despise this pick. Joan Beringer, Minnesota Timberwolves, D-. I think there were far better players out here for this pick. If you wanted a center, you could have gone Kalkbrenner. I know that's a reach based on where he actually went in the draft, but I think Beringer was a reach as well. I can understand the idea. I can understand a lot of teams always like to go for this huge athletic center that's all right defensively, doesn't do a lot on offense, doesn't have a lot of volume, but you think that he's going to end up being a good rim runner, a good rebounder. I can understand the idea, but those projects really hardly ever actually reap the rewards. The idea of him fits what they need, but again, I just don't see this ever actually coming to fruition. He didn't shoot the ball at all, right? He was terrible at that. He got into a little bit of foul trouble. He was okay in terms of efficiency, but again, that's on low volume. At more efficiency, I just don't see this at all. It's not like the Timberwolves have a point guard who can make him such a really good lob threat in a way that would elevate his game. I think there were so many better players. I cannot state that enough, that there were better players on the board here, and I just doubt that Beringer actually ever becomes a player that can stick on the court. Walter Clayton Jr., Utah Jazz, A+. I love this pick. Walter Clayton Jr. is such a tough shot maker. Yeah, there's some defensive concerns in terms of the on-ball defense. I think off-ball defense, he actually is really well. He's got really good instincts. He's able to get his hands on the ball, generate turnovers, stuff like that. But the main thing here is that the Utah Jazz just needed a competent guard. They need a guard that can come in. They've got a lot of guards who can hit shots, but can't do much outside of that. And Clayton Jr. is so intelligent on the court to where he can do everything on the court. Yeah, he's undersized, and there's concerns there. If you're an undersized guard, you have to be really, really good. But we saw in college he was able to thrive under pressure. He had so many big shots. He had so many big games in the tournament to the point where I think they really nailed this pick. I think it was perfectly executed, and I think the Utah Jazz did really well with this one. Nolan Traore, Brooklyn Nets, F. I think the Nets had an opportunity to really nail this draft. There were so many good players at their spots for all of their picks. You look at what they did with their first pick, picking Egor, Demin, and I think they could have gone Collin Murray-Boyles or Cedric instead. You look at this pick right here, and I would have really liked someone like Nique, Clifford, someone like Jase Richardson instead of Nolan Traore. They want him to be Russell Westbrook. He's just not Russell Westbrook. They absolutely stunk up this draft. My further thoughts on that is that Nolan Traore, what he does well, he's able to push the pace. He's able to do that well. He can do that in a modern day offense. He's fast. He can navigate screens okay. He's got good crossovers. He's got a good a sense of his own body control. He's good in terms of his dribbling hesitations, but he's a terrible shooter. And how is that going to stick in the NBA? Unless you're elite, you're almost at other stuff, you're almost unplayable with shooting splits. His true shooting is bad. He's terrible on pull-up threes. He's never going to be a scoring threat from deep. So will defenders not just sag off? Does the rest of the game make up for those liabilities? No. His frame is super light. He's not great defensively. He's nothing like Russell Westbrook defensively. He gets bumped off drives. He's got poor touch in traffic. There were hero ball tendencies. There were forced shots. There were forced turnovers. He forces passes. It just shows immaturity. He's overrated as a floor general, and he's not necessarily a versatile creator. Defensively, he dies on screens. He lacks strength. His defense is far more potential than production. That's a terrible sign. This is a bad pick. Kasparas Jakucionis, Miami Heat, D. I don't like this pick at all. I think it's better than some of the picks that went before him, such as like the Nolan Traore pick. And I understand the idea of him, the intention that they're aiming for. But I think the idea of Kasparas is actually better than the player that he actually is. There are other players on the board here, such as Nique, Clifford, such as Rasheer Fleming, Aduthiero, even Jase Richardson, that I think would have fit the Heat better. I think Nique, Clifford would have been a perfect option. Kasparas Jakucionis, you want him to be a great playmaker. I think he's overrated at that. I think he really struggles with his speed. I think he really struggles to create his own shot. I think he struggles to actually hit any of his shots. I don't think he was necessarily efficient at all. I think defensively, he was somewhat of a liability. Him and Will Riley were both liabilities. I just don't like this pick at all. I think the Miami Heat blundered with this one because, again, there were better players on the board. Will Riley, Washington Wizards, F. The vision with Will Riley is high in potential because of the frame that he has, but I just extremely doubt the potential. I doubt the frame as well. He forces shots, he lacks consistency, and he was an extreme liability on the defensive end. He got absolutely bullied. I mean, I just cannot envision what Will Riley can ever work out as in the league. The frame is skinny, the frame is light. I'd be shocked if he ever actually plays real minutes on the court. I could be wrong, but I just really doubt this pick. There were so many other better players on this board. You had Kalkbrenner, Fleming, Nique, Clifford, Jase Richardson, Aduthiero. Will Riley is the 100th player on my board. I was totally displeased with the Washington Wizards drafting early on in the first round. They stunk it up. Drake Powell, Brooklyn Nets, A-. I really like the Drake Powell pick, and out of their 5 first-round picks that they had that I thought they did really bad on 4 of, I think Drake Powell really fits this team well. He's a great glue guy. He's a great 3-and-D guy, and obviously he was out of position. He played that low-volume role at North Carolina where I think they would have been more effective just letting him take more shots. But the reason it's an A- and not higher up is because I think probably Rasheer Fleming or Jase Richardson might have fit this team better, but Powell was still their best pick, and you have to really like it. The defensive instincts are really good. The defensive game is really good. North Carolina was always better on the court on that side of the ball when he was their top defender on the court. He was able to guard the best player. He was able to get his hands on the ball. He was able to generate turnovers. He was able to make offensive players take tough shots. Drake Powell has the potential, I suppose, to be a good starter in the league. Asa Newell, Atlanta Hawks, C+. To me, Newell is an okay player. I'm not sure if he's going to stick because I don't trust the defensive side of the ball. What I said on Twitter was the offensive potential is there. He's fantastic around the rim. He's a good rebounder. Have a few character concerns with him, and don't love his effort at times. What I mean by that is, and someone said it better than me, is that he was fairly timid at times. My problem with Asa Newell is in big games, he would often fade. He would often play soft. He would often just lack this resilience. There was a lot of times where he just didn't see things defensively, where he would just get beat to his spot, or he just wouldn't be in the spot. That's why I doubt the basketball IQ. He had turnover problems, and on offense in isolation, he was extremely poor. So you want this guy to be a good rim runner, and I think a rim runner can stick if the defensive side of the game is there, and I just don't think it's there. I think the on-ball defense is good. I think he's able to make up. Sometimes if another player gets beat on his team, he's able to make up for them and get a block shot when you didn't think he was going to get the block, and that's where I think he performs extremely well. So as a hustle guy, I like him, but think about him if he's up against someone like Anthony Davis. Is he not just going to get cooked every single time? I think almost every big in the league can be like that, and I just don't know if defensively he's going to stick. Nique Clifford, Sacramento Kings, A+. I think this was a great job moving into that slot and taking Nique Clifford. He's such a super talented guy. He's got such high character, and he just seems like a leader. He seems like an alpha. He's got this like Halliburton-esque aura where it's like this quiet confidence, but I think it works. He requires the ball on offense to be actually impactful. I don't think he's that good off the ball, away from the ball, but with the ball, he's really good, and the Kings can give him that opportunity. This was the best defender in his conference. He's got incredible defensive instincts. He's got great size where he can guard wings as well on the defensive end. He can guard your point guard. And I love this pick for the Sacramento Kings. I thought they did really well in this draft for a team that operates historically pretty poorly in drafts. I thought this was a great approach to it. On offense, he was really impactful with the ball. He was great as a playmaker. He was great at driving, drawing contact. He's decent as a shooter. He's got room to grow there. And he's got room to grow efficiently in terms of efficiency. What you don't love about him is at Colorado, he wasn't extremely productive over his 3 years on that team. But when Colorado State gave him the keys and just said, take our team to the next level, he was able to do that. Nique Clifford can absolutely be a baller on the Kings. This is A+. This is honestly, he's got a potential to be a star, or if not, just a high-end, really, really good player all around. Jase Richardson, Orlando Magic, A+. Jase Richardson can play immediately. There was some concerns like, oh, he should have spent another year in college. No. He should have gone to the NBA. Jase Richardson is going to be so good. They're going to have Bane out there. They're going to have Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero are going to demand the ball the most of the game. And when they're not taking shots, it's going to be Desmond Bane. So if you put a lineup out there of those three paired with Richardson, paired with Goga Bitadze, that is such a competitive lineup, especially in the East. That is so competitive. Jase Richardson is such a smart, high IQ player. He was playing in an off-ball role, and if the Orlando Magic want him to play in an off-ball role, he can do that. Because of the size they have elsewhere, they can hide some of his on-ball defensive concerns. The off-ball defense is there, though. He was so good on Michigan State at just getting turnovers, getting his hands on the ball, getting deflections. He was so good at just these hustle plays about his effort. He's got such confidence. He imposes such a will onto the game. And on top of that, he's an incredible shooter. That's what he's really good at. He's so good at shooting. This is a steal of a pick. This is one of my favorite fits for any team in the draft. He can start immediately. They needed a point guard, and they got a really, really good one. As an on-ball playmaker, I think he can be really effective. Not so much as like a Chris Paul, but there's some shades of it. At least in terms of his aura, there's some shades of it. Ben Saraf, Brooklyn Nets, F. This is another pick to me. It's similar to Kasparas Jakucionis in a way, where I just don't love it because what you want him is to be a really good playmaker. an ability to read defenses at a high level and just process decisions. You want him to be a good, really good point guard. But to me, this is the pick where I started to be like, I feel like the Brooklyn Nets are just guessing on players. I feel like they're not taking players to really build a team. They're just trying to guess and try and take a high-end player. The problem with Saraf is that defensively, he's pretty abysmal to me, and I'm just unsure he's going to stick at a high level. He was okay as a defender in a pretty poor German league, but over here in the NBA, is he going to, he's small, right? He's a small defender. He's not that big, and he's just prone to getting beat on the defensive end. He just needs a lot of work in the fundamentals, and that's really, really scary for a player who's entering the NBA to still have to work and defend against just, bigger guys at this level. Sure, he's decent as a playmaker, but outside of that, what does he really do? He was not that good on offense. I would argue that Noah Essengue was the better offensive player on their team. Saraf had a high volume role and was not totally efficient with it. He was prone to some turnovers, and he can't shoot the ball from three. And if you can't shoot the ball from three, how are you going to stick? Danny Wolf, Brooklyn Nets, D+. I see the ID here. Danny Wolf was about, I think, around 50 on my big board. I think he's incredibly slow-footed on defense. I think, you had a guy like Kalkbrenner on the board who's also a good playmaker. You could have gone for that route. Danny Wolf is obviously incredibly smart, was obviously at Yale. I mean, come on now. He can do a lot on the floor. He's always been a good defender, a good high-level defender in college. But again, the foot speed doesn't make me trust it. The vision is obviously there. He's really, really smart in terms of his playmaking, in terms of finding the right guys on the court. But I just don't know if he's ever going to actually stick because of the lateral quickness. I just don't know if he'll stick because on offense, he can stretch the floor, he can shoot well, he can do a lot of things, but I don't know if he's ever going to actually create for himself. And I think what the Nets are trying to go for and what they're trying to build in a team is a team where everyone can facilitate on the court. It's a very European style of hoops where everyone on the court can make plays and see the court well. But I just don't. I think you're going for the wrong guys in building the vision, and I don't see it at all. And I think it's really tough to envision Danny Wolf sticking at the next level. Hugo Gonzalez, Boston Celtics, D+. So I really like the energy that he brings to that Real Madrid offense, and I really like that they're going for a guy who they think can be versatile, play multiple positions, and they like the potential he brings. I can sit here and say that I don't like him as a player, but he didn't play a lot of minutes, so we don't really know how truly untapped he actually is. He wasn't a great shooter, he wasn't consistent, and he wasn't efficient. The other thing is that I doubt that he'll ever be a shot creator at the next level where he was really poor under any sort of pressure. He was never really that effective for Real Madrid. He was not a plus defender, and so I doubt it extremely, which is why it doesn't warrant anything higher than a D+. I can sit here and I can say, I think Rasheer Fleming was the better pick. I think, Kalkbrenner was still on the board. Noah Penda could have been an option. Adu Thiero could have been an option. I think there were a lot of better guys that the Celtics could have taken to impact winning and do it in an immediate fashion. Who knows? Maybe Hugo Gonzalez develops, so there's still room here to grow, and I'm not writing the player off. I'm not in love with the pick. Liam McNeely, Charlotte Hornets, D. So I like what the Hornets did in the draft in terms of they try to search and seek for these winners, these guys that can come in and shift the culture around and shift the Hornets around. And I like what the Hornets can do. I think they're actually going to contend, if not make the playoffs. I think if I had to predict it now, I say they make the playoffs. But McNeely was seriously unproductive in college. I think, he had a few big games, but he was totally inconsistent. Obviously, everyone would say, oh, he was battling with these injury issues. He was never going to be that good. But let's face it, he was never good. I cannot trust the production, and again, I think there are better players. You could have taken a Rasheer Fleming here, right? There were better, Adu Thiero. There were better players on the board here, and to sit here and take Liam McNeely, I thought was a poor option. I don't know what he's ever going to become. He wasn't a good three-point shooter. He was inefficient. He was not great defensively. So Is he just going to totally erase all of that and become a really good player? Maybe, but I doubt it. I cannot trust it. Yannick Koenen-Niederhauser, Los Angeles Clippers, D-. I think there were just better options here. If you wanted a big, again, you go Kalkbrenner. There are other options in the second round, like Rasheer Fleming, like Adou Thiero, that were must grabs. And you take a guy who was, there was something that went out that he had like a negative box plus minus his first 2 years in college. And then in that third year, he was able to impact the game a lot better. So the flip side, or the side that I'm not seeing, I suppose, is someone would say, well, he improved. So at the next level, he'll keep improving and he'll just take off. But I think at that point, you're just relying on production. You're relying on potential over production. And so I'm unsure that he actually sticks. I mean, he was pretty poor. He was such a late riser because he had some good combine games and stuff like that. He's this athletic big, but I don't think he'll ever actually anchor a defense. Obviously, he can't create for himself. As a lob threat, he could be okay, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get Harden another lob threat. Obviously, Zubac played that role this year, and he took off because of Harden's impact. I think Yannick Koenen-Niederhauser could operate well in that fashion, but and that's why it's totally not an F. But I just doubt he sticks. I think it's really hard to see him being even a decent player in the NBA. Rasheer Fleming, Phoenix Suns, A+. I think the start of the second round was way better than the end of the first round. Rasheer Fleming was a phenomenal pick and should have been a first rounder. He was my number 7 player in the class, and obviously Phoenix traded in to get that pick and to get Fleming. He's a huge wing, he can stretch the court well, and he plays defense really well. What you love about Fleming the most is that he's able to cover so much ground, so much space, and he gets around the court really well and fluidly. He's so versatile where he can pretty much guard 1 through 4 in the NBA, maybe even 5, and he fits the modern day NBA. There's just not a lot of big wing players like him that can shoot a 40% clip. There's not a lot of big wings that don't end up sticking. The other thing is that Fleming's character is really good. I really like watching his interviews of him talking because he's got this soft energy, but it speaks of so much confidence. I think the Phoenix Suns really nailed the draft. I thought they were smart. I thought they were effective, and they took the best player here on the board and capitalized and will reap the rewards immensely.